They say cops never really go off duty. I used to laugh at that, back when I thought I could hang my badge in the closet and just be a dad again. Turns out, that's just a bedtime story we tell ourselves. I found out the hard way. The night a fake badge came knocking at my door, all authority and menace, right here in Maple Hollow Estates, where the biggest scandal was supposed to be an overgrown hedge, not a shakedown. 15 years chasing down fraudsters, gun runners, guys who wore masks of authority for a living. And when the department finally granted me leave, I swore I'd stop living like every knock meant trouble. Houston had grown too hot, too loud. So I packed up Emily, my 13-year-old, all braces and headphones and half grins, and moved us 30 minutes out, landed in one of those perfect little HOAs with cloned mailboxes and lawns so manicured you'd think they grew out of a catalog. Emily liked the porch swing, and she kept begging for a dog. I just like seeing her relax, you know? For the first time in a decade, I could almost breathe easy. First week was a dream. I fixed squeaky hinges, grilled burgers, told myself, "You're not a cop now, you're just a dad with a toolbox and a little bit of peace." But peace, it doesn't announce when it's about to leave. It just slips out the back door like a siren fading into the night. 3 evenings in, a golf cart rolled through the cul-de-sac. 3 guys in black polos, silver, HOA security stitched across their chests, sweeping driveways with spotlights. Talking in clipped code on radios that didn't even crackle. Neighborhood watch? I asked my neighbor Tom Keller, retired teacher, across the street. He kind of laughed, but not the funny kind, said it was a new HOA enforcement thing. For what? I asked. Beats me, he said. This is Maple Hollow, not South Houston. They circled twice, and one slowed to read my house number. Something in that cold, mirrored stare crawled right under my skin. Old habits die hard. I started making notes, tracking license plates, faces, anything off. It's what you do when you can't turn off the detective in your head. Every evening, they came back, sometimes new faces, always the same chill. One night, I went out to take the trash, and that cart idled at the edge of my driveway. Guy in a tactical vest leans out. "Evening, sir. Just checking for compliance." I said, "Compliance with what?" He just gave me that thin smile. "HOA regulations. All residents cooperate." Then he rolled off before I could press. Inside, Emily asked who it was. "Neighborhood security." I lied. She frowned. "Since when do we need security?" "Good question, kid." I didn't have an answer. That night, standing by the window, porch light throwing long shadows, I watched the cart stop in front of my place again. 10 seconds, engine purring, predatory. That was the start. A voice on the radio, reading out my address. Next morning, there's a notice taped to the door. Section 9B, unauthorized structure. Immediate compliance required. HOA letterhead, but the signature's off, too digital, like someone cut and pasted it. I called the number. HOA Enforcement Division, Maple Hollow Branch. The man on the line was smooth, practiced. I introduced myself, said I'd gotten a notice about an antenna. He replied, "You'll need to remove it or face enforcement." I told him, "I don't have an antenna." Short pause. "That's not what our report says." Line went dead. I tried calling back. The number was disconnected. Something was off, something small, calculated, hiding behind fake authority. Pulled up the real HOA charter. Section 9's about landscaping, nothing about antennas. That letter wasn't about enforcing rules. It was testing me. By noon, more golf carts were rolling down the street, handing folded notices to other neighbors. I watched one go to Mrs. Keller. She turned pale. I crossed the street. "You okay?" She said they were behind on fees, but she'd already paid. The badge she'd seen looked printed off the internet. That was enough for me. That night, I found the real HOA's email, buried deep online, and sent them everything. Next morning, they replied, "No enforcement division under our authority. Disregard such notices. We've contacted law enforcement." So it was official. Those patrols weren't HOA. But they had access to our addresses, fees, histories. Someone inside had leaked info. That afternoon, I watched a fake patrol hit a young couple's bungalow. Guy at the door, checkbook in hand. Officer pockets the envelope. No receipt. Clean, quiet extortion. I snapped photos of their badge, Silver Hawk, Community Integrity Unit. Ran it through a database. Same group under investigation in Dallas 2 years ago. Tactics hadn't changed, only the name. That night, I double-checked the locks. Emily asleep upstairs. House quiet, but for that damn golf cart making rounds again. Headlights over the windows. But now, I wasn't scared. I was sure. They weren't guarding us. They were casing us. And I'd brought my badge home for a reason. Next morning, another notice. Final warning, red line across the top like blood. Failure to comply will result in property inspection and legal action. These weren't threats anymore. They were escalating. I called the real HOA again. We've reported this to the county, they said, but technically, these men haven't committed a crime yet. Breaking into mailboxes and impersonating officers isn't a crime? It is, she said softly, but we can't prove who they are. That was all I needed to hear. I drove to the local precinct, showed the fake notice to Daniels. At the front desk. Thought you were on leave, he said. I am, but something's up. Fake HOA cops, extorting neighbors. He whistled low. Promised to get it to fraud division, but I could tell he thought it'd take time I didn't have. As I left, a black SUV with no plates parked across the street, gone when I looked twice. That night, no golf cart, and that worried me more than when it did. At 10:47 p.m., a heavy thud hit my front door. I grabbed the pistol from the lockbox, opened the door, and found only a package. No return, just comply written in block letters. Inside, an empty folder and a photo. My house, me visible in the living room window, right where I stood. Cameras showed nothing but static. Someone had jammed the feed. Pro work. That's the night I stopped. Pretending I was on leave. By sunrise, I had a plan. Coffee, phone set to record, I went door to door. Most neighbors too scared to talk. At the Kellers, a stack of fake notices lay on the table. Tom said, they said we owed back fees. But Louise is gone. Gone. Yesterday, 2 men came in a van. Said there was a compliance issue. Needed to escort him to the HOA office. He never came back. I checked Louise's house. No movement. Plate of half-eaten food on the counter. Folder stamped, paid in full on the floor. Something was being cleaned up. Called Daniels. No missing person report. No foul play, just vanished. Jack, you're on leave. Don't make me put your name in the system, he said. You do what you have to, I told him. That night, the street felt hollow. Curtains drawn. Porch lights flickered, no kids playing. At 9:30, my phone buzzed. Unlisted number. You're asking questions, Sergeant. Stop. I demanded a name. Consider this a friendly warning, you're not in uniform anymore. The line went dead. That was it. I spread out everything I had. Fake notices, photos, a list of addresses from Louise's file. All targeted residents who'd complained or refused new contracts. This wasn't random, it was organized. At midnight, thunder cracked, rain pounding the gutters. Emily called down, worried, but I lied, told her it was nothing. Inside, I kept watch. No golf cart, just my own reflection in the rain-streaked window. I wasn't waiting for help anymore. The next few days passed in a fog. Rain turned the cul-de-sac into a gray mirror. Neighbors waving less, talking less. Emily noticed. Why's everyone so weird, Dad? I blamed the weather, but she wasn't buying it. At night, I slept on the couch, pistol and badge on the table. Fake patrols disappeared for 2 nights straight. Too deliberate, like the quiet before the lights drop and the play begins. Friday we grilled steaks. Laughter returned for a minute. Emily asked if we could get a dog. Maybe, I told her, if it doesn't chew my shoes like the last one. For a moment, everything felt normal. Then headlights swept across the lawn, the golf cart, moving slow. I told Emily to lock herself in her room, not to open the door for anyone but me. The hum stopped. Silence. A heavy knock. HOA security. Open up. They threatened to enter under Section 5B. No such thing. I peeked through the peephole. 3 men, black polos, bearded leader with mirrored shades, one holding a clipboard, another a crowbar. Last warning. I stayed quiet. The door splintered, chain snapped. Emily screamed upstairs. They rushed in, bearded leader barking orders, another rummaging for antenna paperwork, the third tossing Emily's medical box on the floor. They wanted to look official, but they were just thieves with a script. I played along, kept them talking, waited for my chance. When the big one grabbed my arm, I moved, twisted, drove my elbow into his ribs, sent him into the coffee table, kicked his gun under the couch. The leader reached for his weapon, but I got there first. Years of training took over. He went down, face first, groaning, gun skidding across the floor. The kid with the tattoo froze. "You're dead, man." I just stood over him. "No, you are." He bolted. I zip-tied the two left, told Emily to call 911, tell them your dad's a cop. 3 men broke in. Minutes later, red and blue lights danced on the walls. Officers found me standing over 2 men, hands raw, shirt torn. "Impersonators," I told them. "Fake HOA security, been hitting houses all week." Joe Green and Tom Royce. Fraud. Impersonation, wanted in 2 counties. The adrenaline faded, leaving only the wreckage and the look on Emily's face, half pride, half terror. As the cruisers pulled away, I realized evil doesn't need to hide if fear does the job for them. That night, I pieced together what little I had: fake badges, incident notes, encrypted radios. These guys weren't amateurs. Someone had fed them inside info. I logged in with old department credentials. Both Green and Royce were on probation, same attorney. Same shell company, Civic Growth Holdings. 2 years ago, that name was all over a fraud case. Phony property management fronts laundering money through HOAs. Now they were in my backyard. At dawn, I met Daniels at the precinct. Internal Affairs already called Jack. Unions calling it questionable use of force. I laughed, bitter. What was I supposed to do, offer coffee? Before he could answer, a woman's voice cut in. "Agent Rivera, FBI." She laid out photos, badges. "These men are part of a multi-state impersonation ring, using HOA data to extort and intimidate." I told her, "You want in?" "No cowboy stunts. Scout's honor." Back home, Emily asked, "Are they coming back?" I told her no, but I was lying to both of us. That night, the threats came by text. "You think you won? We know where you work, Sergeant." Then a photo, Emily walking home from school. That's when fear stopped being fear and turned into fire. I called Daniels. "Tell Rivera I'm in. If they want a war, they've got it." Next morning, I met Rivera, handed her my folder on civic growth. We traced Kane, the tattooed kid, to a fixer named Eli Ward, Civic Growth's Houston guy, running things from an abandoned property office 10 minutes from my house. We went in with backup, posing as clients. Ward's eyes narrowed when we mentioned Joe Green. When he realized who we were, he tried to stall. Then, Kane burst out, gun in hand. I flipped a table, fired once. Kane went down. Rivera's team stormed in, cuffed Ward. We cracked their ring wide open. That night, Rivera's team was already linking Civic Growth to dozens of shell HOAs. Millions laundered through fake fines and enforcement. All I cared about was that the threats to Emily were done, until I got home and found another photo. Emily on her walk, envelope sealed in black tape. "We're not done, Sergeant." That night, Morse code flickered across the street, Mrs. Whitaker's porch light. I crept over, found 2 men shaking her down, same fake uniforms. I intervened. "Police, drop it." One lunged. I took him down. The other tried to run. I stopped him. Then my phone buzzed. "Rivera, Ward's transport van never made it. He's gone." Seconds later, gunfire erupted, bullets tearing through Mrs. Whitaker's kitchen. Black SUV, no plates, vanished into the dark. Ward was free, and he wanted payback. Rivera and I tracked Ward to a server warehouse, his control center. As we went in, the place exploded. He'd wired it to burn the evidence, but I'd already copied the files to a flash drive. "You're insane," Rivera said. "Maybe," I told her, "but now we've got what we need." We chased Ward down, cornered him at an abandoned refinery. He tried to make it a spectacle, taunting us, trying to be the last word in fear. He triggered another explosion, tried to escape, but in the end, I was faster. Ward went down, rain hissing on flames, the case closed with sirens and the slow roll of dawn. 3 weeks later, Maple Hollow was patched up, kids riding bikes, mailboxes repainted. Rivera brought coffee, told me Civic Growth was finished, 23 arrests across 3 states, the biggest impersonation case in Texas history. "You don't look satisfied," she said. I smiled, maybe for the first time in months. People like us never are. We just wait for the next storm. That night, Emily brought cocoa out to the porch. You staying out here all night again? Not tonight, I said, finally letting myself breathe. Next morning, a plain envelope in the mailbox. No threats, just a note. Thank you for cleaning up the neighborhood. I smiled for real this time. If this place was going to have guardians, at least now they were on the right side of the badge. So what would you have done? Let it go, or fight back, badge or no badge? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me what justice looks like in your book, and if you've ever faced down authority that turned out to be just another mask. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, so next time, you'll know what's really lurking behind that HOA sign at the end of the street.